just a poor boy from Liverpool. I'm just a poor boy from Liverpool.
Hello, ladies and gents. It's me again. It's Monday. It's history. It's great. Anyway, I just want to, before I start, I've got to put these people on. I really have. Got painting services, the sponsors of this show, the sponsors of every show that I do. And if you know any NHS worker, or if you're an NHS worker yourself, or your relative of somebody, and he wants to do some decorating, just get these in. They get a special discount. They really do. Or elderly people. If they want to do decorating, just get them in. Just tell them to give you the price. Tell them to come down. There's no obligation. And if they say, yeah, well, that's fine. Because they get a special discount. That's the elderly. And also NHS workers. And if you don't even fit into those categories, just tell them, when you want to do some decorating yourself, especially outside work, just get them in. Without any obligation, tell them to give you the price. And they're done. You're done, it's done. There's no problem. The first class lads that's got painting services who sponsor every show that I do, every single one. The good lads, believe you me, the good lads. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Like this. Oh, come on, give me a break. Why you see me going like that is because of cameras like that. Right there it is. Anyway, good evening, everyone. I just want to show you this. This is great, this. And I want you to tell me, where's that? There, a little thing there. Where is it? Hey, any idea? It's good, isn't it? All right, so I'll zoom in again for you. Let me know where it is. Just let me know. I'll take it off, have a good look at it, and let me know where it is. I'll get back to it later on. All right. Let's see who's here. Franco. That men do not learn very much from the lessons of history is the most important of all the lessons that history has to teach. Aldous Huxley, I've got his book here, hopefully, somewhere there anyway, my little library. And you're right, he's right. You've only got to look at it. Absolutely ridiculous. You've only got to look at the European leaders who were bowing down and kissing the shoes of Trump, who hasn't learned any history whatsoever. It's just, well, that's for the Friday night though. Huxley died on the same day as the assassination of JFK, the 22nd of November 1963. His essay, The Doors of Perception, has inspired the later naming of the rock band. I didn't know that. The Doors, funny enough, I was always, why did they call themselves the Doors? Didn't know that. That's great. That. I always say you learn something new every day. Thank you, Franco. Didn't know that. And Polo is... Good evening, Frank. Good evening, Polo. Good to see you, mate. Really is. No football tonight. What, no football, please? Hi, Frank in chat says, my old mate, Steve Holland. When are you coming up again, Steve? Been waiting for the big phone call. But you haven't rang me. Barry Aldrich. Evening, Frank and everyone. Hope you're all well. Thank you, Barry. Good evening to you. And Owen Lee. How you Owen? Evening, Frank. Great to be back. Yeah, it's good to see you, Owen. It really is. It really is. Apollo says, that picture, Frank, looks like Liverpool City with tenements, big car park. Not sure the name of the park. St. George's Hall, custom out. Blimey, I was only asking for that. Hang on. I was only asking for that area there. I'll show you it in full in a moment, Polo. Okay. And it won't be surprising, honestly. It might be surprising, but I just don't know. Because everyone on there, all our chatters, me and Jason have said, and Johan, let me guess where he is. Johan has said that the chat, everyone on the chat is very intelligent, honestly. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not trying to flatter anybody. Really not. And Mr. B. Good evening, Don Frank. Baresi. Baresi. Franco. John of the Kit Kats. I can't wait to get it done, to be honest. Can't wait for this. Can't wait for this operation. I should know we're in this. I'm certain I'll get to know what date I'm going in this week. Surely they can't leave it like till the end and go, where I come in. John of the Kit Kats. Lovely Natasha. Hi, Frankie. Hiya, Natasha. And she says, does the ferry still go to New Brighton, Frank? Yeah. It only goes, he goes over the water, like. That's what we say. Over the water. And Ali, all the way from Romania. Good evening. Good evening, Ali. Evening, Ali, says Mr. B. That's what I like because, you know, to let on to one another. I think it's really good simply because, you know, they know that you're there. And it's respectful to say, are you? It really is. And I've always said, show a little respect and you'll get abundance back. An abundance of respect back. It's as simple as that. I'm going to have a drink of water. Excuse me. And Ali says, hello, Mr. B. Hope your son won the match. He did, actually, Ali. Let's get smashing the Tories. I mean, the likes. Smash the Labour as well. God blimey, the way Burnham's acting. Did they say when you were to be informed, Frank? Says Barry. No, they just said, I did the pre-op and they sent me a questionnaire out. And I filled that in. I said that'll take an hour and 20 minutes. God blimey, the questions that they were asking was incredible. I thought I knew myself, I didn't. I'm telling you now. They wanted to know everything from birth. I know that I had chicken pox. Never had measles or anything, but chicken pox, I remember that one. Caught them in there when I was a little infant in school. So nobody. And Polo, here, well said, Frank, is that about no football? Yes, no football. None. Non calcio, as the Italians say. It's all history tonight, people. And Barry says, is there some sort of deadline? I don't know. I really don't know, Barry. You know, it's one of those things. I haven't a clue. The last time I was in hospital, I was taken away and I had a triple repair aneurysm. I was dying. I died, actually. And I seen no bright lights or anything, tunnels, seen nothing like. But I was only gone for about, I think, 20 seconds or so. Maybe the light didn't want to bring me wherever it's going. And Mr. Beast, I'm sure we could organise a good red bath, a good bed bath. Oh, when I came out of hospital after that triple repair, you know, a mate of mine, he's a carer, and he came up and he looked after me. He wasn't told to look after me, and he just came up, you know, helped me to get a shower and things. Good, he was great with me. And Barry says, bags, I wash your glasses. And Polo says, Frank, what topics can we talk about? Anything. I'm going to show loads of pictures, by the way. So, you know, prints. That's what they are, prints. And see what you want to say anyway. See what you want to say. So I'll put this up again. Oh, good evening, Linda. Evening, Frank, hello. Good evening, Linda. Sorry, dear. I've never ignored you. And Lorraine. Hey, Lorraine. Hiya, Frank. If you could go back one moment in Liverpool history, what would it be and why? Whoa. What would it be and why? There are some parts of history, you know, and I'm not sure, honestly, I'm not talking sport or anything like that. But historical, yeah, I'd love to go back. Even the poets, he said, great question, Lorraine. Can I give you a few examples a bit later on? But I'll give you one now. And it's happened in it's happened. I want to get this date right. I want to get this date right. I really do. And it was when all the it was in 1774 or something like that. It was. And what has happened? All the merchants are taken away. Get onto this. The equivalent 10. It was 10 shilling. 10 shilling from the wages of the sailors. And you've got to understand that it was hand to mouth in those days. Hand to mouth. And there was a mayor by the name of Wright. And, you know, he supported it. But the sailors didn't. The sailors didn't. And they went, well, okay, you want to take 10 shillings away from us? Okay. So what they did, they unrigged all the ships in the Mersey. Unrigged them. So they couldn't sail. No one could sail them. And they made their way up to Castle Street. They had muskets, cutlasses, and even a couple of cannons. A couple of cannons. And they set siege. 2,000 sailors, imagine, in Castle Street, with 2 cannons, muskets, and cutlasses, demanding that because don't forget, all the businesses was done in the town hall. In the town hall. And the town hall then was fairly new, because it was opened in 1754. So you're talking like 30 years later. 30 years later. And then they were demanding to see these fellas who owned the ships. And they weren't all scousers, you know. They weren't like, you know, the ship owners. Most of them were from outside. This is how Liverpool got a name. Our merchants. But most of the merchants were from outside Liverpool. They came from all over the UK, Scotland, even Leeds and Newcastle. Obviously, Manchester, Bristol, London, they came from everywhere. And they all set sail from Liverpool. This is where the businesses was. Liverpool made a lot of money through their ships, by the way, because they charged them, they taxed them. And it was during the slave trade as well, 1774. So anyway, I would have loved to have been there, Lorraine, and see what happened, because it's well documented that Mayor Wright, see, there was no police then. What you did have was special police, and they didn't have uniforms or anything, but they were special police to, you know, patrol the streets and whatever, and the dockside. And this is genuine. It's like a Monty Python thing. And Mayor Wright said to them, to these special police, But you know where the special police were from? They were from Manchester. Because our own little police force, like special police, they said, we're not going to go in there. We're not going to try and sort them up. Behave yourself. So we sent for special police from Manchester. And they came down. And he said to them, right, lads, get out there. And now, don't forget, you're getting loads. 2,000 of them sailors. All there with cannons and cutlasses and muskets. And get out there, lads, and sort them. And you could imagine what they said. They said, us sort them. You go out and sort them. You're the mayor. But anyway, they never went out. And they just sent a barrage of fire into the town hall. And it was all resolved, they unrigged it, they gave the 10 shilling back, or whatever it was, the equivalent of 10 shilling. And they gave it back to the sailors. But the town hall was badly damaged. And they brought in one of our great architects, John Foster Sr. And what you see today, the front of the town hall, he done it. He just done everything. He all repaired it and put the balcony there. It was great, So, that's one thing. But there's a few things I will talk about it after the break, eh? Thanks, Lorraine. Trying to explain that. Let's see. And Paulo says, Frank, I wanted to ask, do you have maps of the hinterland? I mean, Haywood, Huyton, from 1800. I have actually, but I can't put them up today because I have to ask Jason beforehand. But yeah, I'll have them up definitely next week for you, Paulo. Definitely. And Barry, if I could go back, I'd love to be during the Thomas Steers era, just to see the different boats sailing. Do you mean into see Thomas Steers? He was Dutch. Thomas Steers. We say everyone. The Anglo-sized the names. The Anglo-sized the name. I even know. Well, they've gone back to the Italian name, thank God. The Anglo-sized the names to get work, and their families came over from Italy. One was Pericini, and they decided to, just to get work, to Anglo-size the names to Perkins. It happens a lot in America as well. Then you had the Bacinos, and they changed their name. Some of the family, not all the Bacinos, they changed their name to Butcher, and it was just to get work. Because when the Italians came over, they didn't like it. I'd say it's all sectarianism, and I don't like doing sectarianism because it could upset people. I remember in my classes, I was doing it. And these are all mature students, by the way. This is at colleges, not university. And I just said, I'm not doing that again. And again, like the Second World War, I used to do a lot on the Second World War. And I said it was the likes of Dunkirk, for example. We sent over 300,000 men to take on Germany. And they pushed us back. And they cornered us. And they got us onto Dunkirk beach. and they cornered the French, and they put them back in France, the Germans. And yet, it was a humiliating defeat. There's no other way to describe it. Yet, the likes of Churchill, he made it into a great victory by getting the lads off the beach. And in fact, Hitler himself said, "Don't bomb them." They only had two planes going around saying, "Listen, we're still here. Don't be going back into France." And then the flotilla started to come over to take them back, little boats. And that was the great victory, you see. But Hitler did say, "Don't bomb them." And his idea was that the English would love the British. Oh, he's great, that Hitler, isn't he? He never killed any of our lads. That's the way it was. And when I said that, I had there was loads of women in my classes, and they used to say, "My dad was there, you," and shouting at me. My dad wasn't a coward. I said, "Oh no, he wasn't a coward." I said, but it was a humiliating defeat for the British, 300,000 men. And I just said, no use teaching, mature students about serious things like the Second World War and Normandy, not the Normandy lands at Dunkirk. The likes of the green and the orange. Couldn't teach them. Terrible. Because you had people arguing. And these are like daytime college and nighttime, the evening. They were arguing with each other. It was shocking. Sectarianism. I always remember there was a fellow named George Wise. I'm not going into it. And I was talking about it. And the next, this woman got up and she went, "I'm a Wiseite. My family were Wiseites. Her parents, this lady was elderly. How dare you talk about it?" God blimey, Dad. But it's an historical thing, you see. So really, you can't really speak about significant history of this city. It's the way it is. Oh, Karen. Oh, Karen. Great friends of mine is Karen Karayaku and a Robbie Steve. Good evening, Frank. Looking forward to tonight's show. I'm sat in the garden. Oh, yeah. Waiting for the rain. I've spent ages today gardening, now sat with a vino, you, and a lovely sky, but no rain. Well, I think that's nice, a nice evening. I used to, when I had a garden many years ago, I used to have this like little thing, paving stones, little thing around it, lights, and I used to just sit there. It was lovely on a nice balmy evening. That's what it's about, Carol. And Darren says, "All right, Frank, mate." Hello, Darren. Buonasera, Franco and Co. Hope you're all doing well, says our lovely Italian lady, Toscana. She can't wait. She's going over to see all her relatives in Tuscany next month. I wish I could have been going. because she knows that I want to go and see Puccini's home in Lucca. I've always wanted to go there, but I will make it, if everything's all right with me. It'll have to be next year, Cedric sneaks in the back of the classroom quietly. Hiya, Cedric. Good to see you. Good to see you. And the poet says, cannons, Christ. They didn't mess around during the pay disputes back then. No, they didn't. They didn't. Because it was don't forget, they were travelling all over the place. And the poet says, makes things like working to rule and refusing to work overtime look very yes. I'll do that one. I'll do that with you one day, because it's one of those things that hardly gets mentioned. Our sailors, and I'm talking Liverpool sailors, by the way, not like sailors, say, from Glasgow or Newcastle or Leeds or, they just, or London or Bristol or anything. I'm talking about Liverpool sailors and Liverpool merchants. I'll do that if you ever want me to. And Karen says, I'd love to go back to the time of Herbert J. Lowes. Oh, favourite architect, then. The greatest of all Art Deco architects. Karen, you know that. Hi, Lindsay Ellis, says Karen. And lovely little Lindsay says, Frank, your doctor's at the end of Netherfield Road on the corner. What was his name? He won medals. My doctor. If you're talking about Dr. Connolly, I always said to my grandmother, he had one ear. And I said, I was only a little mad kid, wanting to stay off school. And she sent for the doctor. And I was just lying on the couch. I just wanted to get up and play football. Wanted to stay off school. And he came. And he has one ear, Dr. Connolly. And he was the family doctor. And I said to my grandmother, why have you only got one ear? And she said, the Japanese cut us off. And I went, oh, well, I went through adult life. And I did, when I was doing the DVDs, I did something on him. And I asked his daughter, who was then my doctor, I said about, can I mention about the Japanese cut his ear off? She said, who told you that? I said, my grandmother, years ago. And she said, no, she said he didn't. I said, oh, right, okay. And he said he had a car crash. He was in a car crash, sliced his ear. Dr. Connolly. Yeah, he was over in Italy, the Italian landings, Dr. Connolly. And he was captured by the Germans, and he escaped, and he went into the Apennines. And he was treating, believe it or not, the partisans in the Apennines. And he was like anyone, pregnancies, and he was looking after them. He was delivering babies, and then he was captured again, and he was sent to Berlin. And on a train going to Berlin, when they bringing him from Italy up to Berlin, over to Berlin, He had a terrible time with the Germans, German people, that is, civilians, because he's still in the British uniform. He was murdered as well. Again, this is sectarianism, and it's shocking. He came from what we call the Republic of Ireland today. He came from Southern Ireland and came over to Liverpool in 1934. And when he came over, he was making his way somewhere, and he was going through the Everton district. Now, this is before the NHS, and he was going through the Everton district, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. He was seeing kids running around in their bare feet. The poverty was shocking. And when he set up a practice with Mr. like Goldman or something, I forget his name. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry about that. That was my daughter sent me a text. So you say, I forgot what, I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. Yeah, oh yeah, about Dr. Connolly. And he was brought up to Berlin and he was interrogated, and the Republicans, like the IRA, for example, they didn't like him joining the British Army because, don't forget, they were always having a go at the Irish, the English, I'm sorry, the Republicans. Dunkirk was a defeat, 100%, says the Polo. Humiliation retreat. Mainstream media still thinks it's a victory. Bizarre. You want to try saying that? Here's me mate. There he is again. Vauxhall's artist moaning. In case you really. Ah, he's great though. It's my old mate Steve. Dunkirk, another American victory. Yes, Barry. Yes. They won every war they've been in. And Lindsay, hi Karen, hope you're well. Oh, that's lovely. Dennis, my old mate from good afternoon from a still soggy Tampa. Now he lives in Florida. Tampa. Now think about this. How often does it rain in Tampa? And look, it's been raining for days. Do you know what I think? He'll disagree with me because he's an American. I really believe that America is working on, I don't know what you'll call it, that could change the weather. Telling you know, and even earthquakes. But if say like a nuclear bomb at Yellowstone, I think Dennis would know this. If a nuclear bomb at Yellowstone Park, famous Yellowstone Park, they've got subterranean there, will blow up America, cause devastation all over America. You wouldn't believe that, would you? It's true, though. And if I know that, the Russians would know it and the Chinese would know it. It caused earthquakes, everything it caused. Yellowstone Park. Hello, Frank in chat, says Phil. Hiya, Phil. Oh, great to see you. Great you joined us. Dennis says, hope all you Franco-lights are doing well. And all those, he lives in an Alligator Alley, That's his address, Alligator Alley. He asked me, he said, hey, I come over, see me, have a relaxing week or two. Do you know what? I think he does it for spite, Dennis. He said, have a look at this. Alligators outside his house. Oh, yeah, okay, you want me to go over there? Can't even walk. Can you imagine me trying to run away from one? You will go to Italy, Frank, next year, says our lovely little. Yeah, I hope so. And good evening, our Frank, says Carl. Hey, Frank. Well, it's history night tonight. Yes. What was your favourite night at the Grafton? What's he like? What's he like? I just got a text off. I've got to show you this. He's just walking outside on the side. Look at it. This is Dennis the Paparak. Look. And he wants me to come over there. Oh, God. See. I'm sure people want to get rid of me. And Darren says, Miss seeing you on our work. Very good discussion with yourself and him. Known him many years. Great historian. John, he rang me up months ago. And he put the phone down on me. I knew that he wanted to get back on, to be honest, Darren. And anyway, I said, what are you doing now? And he said, these people coming in from Ukraine. And I went, oh, yeah. he said, well, I talked to them and they come, why they come in. And I said, oh, yeah. And he said, there was a Ukraine woman and a Russian woman. I said, oh, yeah. And I knew what he was going to say, honest. And he said, and the Russian girl, the Russian girl. The Russians shot her husband. I said, what for? He said, because he was a Ukrainian. I said, do you mean a Russian-speaking Ukrainian? And he said, yeah. I said, and they shot him, the Russians. I said, do you fucking believe that? I said, they went in to save the Russian-speaking people. That's why they invaded. I said, don't you get that? Don't you get that? Why they invaded? Or do you still think, with the Western press? And he put the phones out. So that was it, tell him, mate. And Lindsay says, yes, that's him, Frank. You mean Dr. Connolly? Great man. Great man. My doctor. Then his wife became my doctor. And then his daughter, after Dr. Catherine retired. Stephen Coughlin, good evening, Frank, and the main man. And chatters, hope everyone is all well for this Monday night. Peace out. Yes. The poet, apparently about 1/8 of all troops rescued from Dunkirk's beaches were rescued by the Isle of Man steam. Well done. A few of them were sunk. And believe it or not, poet, it was just to tell them we're still here. We don't want you turning back and going over there, like to see. I'd love to do it. I can't do it now, but I'd love to do it one night because loads went. As they were taking them off Dunkirk and they were crossing the channel, they were doing a little left turn to get to a place called Roscoff. Now, Roscoff doesn't sound French, does it? But it is. I've actually been there. And they were dropping them off there so that they joined, try and fight the Germans again. So they stopped there. That's why a few of them were there. Sunk. That's a cracker, that. Well done, poet. You're right about the steam packers. Our ferries as well. Never get mentioned. Stephen says, better it was a different world back then. Not like it is now, Frank. As the castle is beautiful and wish we had it now. So do I. And so do a lot of other people in 1724 when they started to demolish it. The same way you're doing this. This is the first building, super building in Liverpool in 1234. Why are you knocking it down? Let's keep it. Let's preserve it. Now knock it down. We want to build a church. Poet. Everton and the Dingle were traditional orange areas. They voted Conservative right up to the 60s, still have the Derry Club on Mayor Lane. Our kid lives by there. Our kid lives by there. That's Gerard. And another lodge place on Everton Road to this day. Yeah, you're right, poet. Our kid said, hey, come on, we go for a drink. So I went for a drink with him. And he said, hey, are we going here? I never had a clue what it was. And we goes into there, what you're talking about, the Mere Lane. And we goes in, and I've never won anything in my life, honestly. And I won't spot them. And it was only a few quid, but it's made up. Honestly, I won't spot the ball. They go around. And then the fella came back and put his hand out. And I looked at him. I said, yeah. He said, are you giving me the money back? I said, I just won it. He said, yeah, but normally you give it back. I said, no. Why should I? Why should I? Are you going to give me the money back but pay for the ticket? Anyway, I never gave him it. So when he went away, he grunted. And when he went away, our kid said, what it is, Francis, he said, you give it back to them because that goes to the lodge. I said, what fucking lodge? He said, the Orange Lodge. I didn't know where it was. I says, yeah, okay. Never gave him it, like. Harp Frank. That's it, isn't it? Carl. Liverpool sadly was very sectarian up until the 19th. Now it's become classist, very snobbish. You're right there. Oh. Defo working on one stuff like that same here farmer in UK, loads went to waste because of recent heat waves, making way for the bioengineered foods from the government, believe, and I back you 100%. I back you. Yes. Yeah, it's you've only got to look at the Danube. People don't realise that the Danube is so low that traffic, boat traffic that is, can't be overweight. So the likes of grain and coal and things, that's vital for their infrastructure for different parts of Europe, including wheat. Can't do it. It's just nuts the way it is. I blame Dennis Paparak and them alligators. Of Trump. Is Alligator Alley near, right? Just asking, says Karen Carriac. Laughing his little head off. Dennis is in Chester Zoo, Frank. Don't believe a word, says Karen. Look, I'm going to show this, okay. I'll have to. I keep these mad things. Right, so I asked you, boys and girls, where this is. This area. This lovely little area. Let's see if I can zoom in again. Now, I'll tell you, this lovely lodge here, right, is the lodge of a special person. And it became the lodge of a gardener and a cemetery fella. Because this beautiful thing here, remember I mentioned about John Foster Sr., fixing up the town hall after the siege. Well, his son designed this here. And what that is, that's Huskerson's memorial. that. And you've seen it loads of times, because here is the Anglican Cathedral today. That's St. James's Cemetery. And here, and it's still there today. See that little house there? It's not the little house on the prairie. Believe it or not, I used to show people this when I was around. I never ever went up there, and being honest, I was doing some filming up in the cathedral itself. And I said to people, I said, come on, I'll show you this. We went around and we looked at this, and they couldn't believe it, because that particular home belonged to the fella who built this, and the same fella who built this. And that's Gambier Terrace. And it's John Foster Jr. Because this he also built. Now you might think, because the gardener and the cemetery fella always stayed in there. And that's today, still there by the way, that today is the finest miniature Greek Doric temple in the world. And it's right outside, more or less, the cathedral, which is here. How about that? How about that? So you see, it's St. James's Cemetery. I wasn't trying to catch you out, honestly, I wasn't. Because here is St. George's Hall. Let me pinpoint it. There, St. George's Hall. And there is St. John's Church. And people often always say to me, well, why didn't we put the plateau, which is there? I said, well, we couldn't, because the church was there. The church wasn't knocked down until 1896. The hall was built in 1854. It opened its doors in 1854. And this was a cemetery anyway. So they couldn't put the plateau there, because it wasn't their land anyway. So it's things like that, you know. Great, isn't it? Love it. Love it. And here, this little beauty, can I get onto it here? Let's see. This, can you tell me where that is? Well, tell me, two places. This one here, what's that? And what's that? And if Jason's in, I'm going to ask him for a break, because he haven't had a cup of tea. And I'm dying for a cup of tea. And if Jason, oh dear, yeah, he's here. Here's a break, see you later.
Hey girls, but how about this?
Okay, here we go. I've got... Wait. Okay, here we go. Is it my fault you don't know your history?
Hang on a minute. That's the great writer, Herman Monster, you know what I mean? They find their paradise, and that's where we're here. Now, I'll go on. Yeah, you're on the telly now, you're on the TVC. You'll have to buy it.
Are you using the script? Frank doesn't use the script.
The prison was empty and f***ing hell. Cathedral wasn't built while Jameson was living here because the bells would have kept him up all day.
All night.
Hey, remember this?
Hey, I don't be shouting at people. Hey, remember this?
The prison was never empty a year now.
Okay.
It was just up there. Celebrated its centenary. Once again.
Sorry, that's my phone.
Show me one. Ready? You ready?
Go on. This is his legacy.
This is his...
His leg. This is his leg. Okay.
That's you, that.
You ready? People just walk up and down the street, yet they don't even know it exists. But I'm going to bring you in. Follow me. Okay. Alright. I don't know why gates are always locked on me. Every time I go to a gate, it's always locked. Ready? Hang on.
Looks like you're going to fart.
I've just remembered what I've passed walking up Mount Pleasant.
Now, it sounds like you passed a kidney stone.
Did it?
Yeah. Just remember what I've just passed.
You could have been one of them, bringing your poorly... You ready? Wow.
Liverpool is so different because it became the biggest port in the world. You've got to go back to between 1709 1715 when a Dutch lad named Thomas Steers, came up. We anglicised his name to Thomas Steers. And what has happened, he made the very first wet dock in the entire world. Now, all around the country, what you have all around the country is little harbours, right, but with no docks. Harbours, no docks. So therefore, this became the very first port. No matter how you look at it, one dock became a port. And it finally grew into 7.5 miles of docks from that little one, which is absolutely extraordinary. This gateway to the world, the new world, which was America, obviously, when there was great upheaval during the 18th and 19th centuries, in Europe, you had the people coming over. They came from everywhere, Tony. Even China, they actually, Chinese, people think that if you could imagine, going back to the 19th century, and they actually did their a community in Liverpool in 1826 in Pitt Street. So what you've got at Pitt Street was the very first Chinese community in Europe, but they were on their way to America. They actually walked from China to Liverpool. The only time they ever got a boat was, I don't know where they got the boat from, but they had to cross the channel. So they came over via a ship then, walked to Liverpool because they knew that Liverpool was the gateway to America, just like everybody else. The French, the Spanish, the Germans, the Italians, everybody, every conceivable nation in Europe came here.
This is St James's Cemetery in the grounds of the Anglican Cathedral, and the cemetery is linked to a great piece of history and also to a great myth. The myth is linked to this grave and who's buried here. Unfortunately, through time, the grave has toppled over, but we have got footage of actually who is buried here. The name on the tombstone is Oliver Cromwell, but not the Oliver Cromwell. This was a child, and infant mortality at the time of the 19th century was very high, and this child is buried here. Oliver Cromwell and Oliver Cromwell, and you can see how myths develop. From fiction to fact, this is John Foster Jr.'s mausoleum dedicated to William Huskisson, the very first fatality of the railway system. Baroness Ortsky used William Huskisson for her novel The Scarlet Pimpernel because it was actually he, William Huskisson, who went over to France and rescued the French aristocrats during the French Revolution. How did this legendary man die? In fact, he went over to greet the then Prime Minister, the Duke of Wellington, who was on board Stephenson's rocket. He tripped up and the rocket went over him and he was killed. And this is where he's buried. Huskisson's name lives on, not only here in St James's Cemetery, but also in Huskisson Street, which is a stone's throw from here, and also Huskisson Dock.
There you have it. The little break. Got my cup of tea. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed it. Does anyone get where there was them two little buildings there? And the poet says, difference between Liverpool and Belfast and Glasgow, though, is that the sectarian punch-ups are in the family, Scots Protestants and Catholics intermarried. Sectarian violence was on the 12th of July in Liverpool. Was your mum hitting your dad over the head with a rolling pin? It was just nuts, wasn't it, really? I remember being in the juniors and the teacher said we were breaking up for the holidays just before we were breaking up, and it was on the 11th or the 12th of July, and he said, don't go throwing stones. I was in the Lord's Warden. That was my local, because I grew up in Cherry Gardens. And I was standing out with all the lads having a bevy, 12th of July. and they're all coming down London Road. They're predominantly Catholic area. You had the Bull Ring, you had the Four Squares, you had Holy Cross Parish just there, and our parish, Jerry Gardens, Jerry Crescent. And anyway, we're standing outside, just having a bevy, just looking at the march of the lodge on the 12th of July, all going to Lime Street to get the train. They always went up to Southport for the day out. And this fella, the fella in the front with the mace, and the drum got louder and louder. They really, was beating the big bass drum. And the mace went right up in the air. Brilliant mace people, for throwing them things and catching them. But, that was it. They beat it harder. Maybe just standing there having a bevy, that was it. No shouting, no nothing. Is it St. James's Gardens? Yeah, you got that. The cemetery, yeah, Karen. What is your opinion on what happened to the original Liverpool seal, supposedly stolen by Prince Edward and his men? And where do you think it is? Darren, what has happened was, you're talking about King John's seal, aren't you? The original eagle. You see, in November, in the June 1644, you had the royalists taking over the castle. But in the November, they only held it till the November. And then the parliamentarians, they took it back. And someone went up to what we know as the town hall, what we know the town hall is today, where the royal seal was kept, and got it and smashed it up. So there's no royal seal, original royal seal. The only time you'll ever see it is on prints. The original royal seal. And they even smashed when they sent official letters out, and they gave it the wax thing, that was even smashed up. And they asked somebody if there was an engraver, and someone was said, yeah, I'm an engraver. I wasn't an engraver at all. And he came out with the cormorant, what we see today. An eagle with long legs and a big neck. So no, that's what happened to the royal seal. Off to a meeting. Have to catch the recording later. Ciao. I'll see you, Dennis. And Sam Tic Tac. Why you're all typing everything in caps, assuming the streamer? Yes, I have. I've got cataracts. If that offends you, nothing I can do. See you then. Take it easy, mate. And the poet says, yeah, easier for Frank to read. And Dennis says to Samsek, yeah, it helps Frank better to see and read his posts. Steve Holland. Does the Anglican Cathedral still have a natural spring? Yeah. And have you I tell you what it's good for, the eyes. Even the hospital tells you that. and they still don't know where the source comes from. If anyone says, oh, it doesn't, they still don't know. They still don't know, stay. I admit I was wrong jumping into the stream and trying to have a laugh before having a research about the streaming. It's no problem. No problem, mate. And Sam, I'm actually having a laugh now. Frank is funny as hell. Thank you. Thank you. And Stephen, no one writing in caps. So Frank can see what's written. So can everyone hit the like button, please. Thanks. Thank you. Listen, I'm going to carry on with this, all right? I've got to. Because I asked you where it was, and it doesn't look like you know. Frank's always like, oh, did he put funnies on? And the poet says, considering you had no formal training, Frank, you are a terrific broadcaster. Those videos you did really were great. People will be watching them long after the pair of you have gone. It's the way it is. It's the way it is, because I wanted to write a book called Liverpool Unravelled. And it was a lad named Jimmy McCracken, Radio Merseyside. And he said, why don't you film it? And then Tony Snell got involved. And then we went out on a practice run. And we did it. You know, after the practice run seemed all right, you know. So we just went out and about and did the film work. And then put it out there. Anyway, I've just got honest boys and girls, please let me do this. I just want to show this again, just in case. Right, I asked you where that is. Hang on. I asked you where this is, right? And I asked you where this is. I'll tell you what that is. No, I'll tell you what that is first. And believe it or not, let's see if anyone's got it. I'll get back to that way. It's funny that. Well, anyway, that's St. Luke's Church. That's the bombed out church, people. And this here is known as the Blackie. And this is Chinatown. How's that? And I bet you've been there loads of times. But I suppose you didn't get the St. Luke's because it's got a roof on it. And who built it? Who built St. Luke's Church? Well, it's the fella who actually built Gambia Terrace and the little Greek Doric temple. And also his little house, which I used to show people. And it's still there today. John Foster Jr. So he built a lot of things. And he also built, believe it or not, remember St. Andrews in Rodney Street that became derelict? Well, that, if you could imagine, when that was derelict, you had the bombed out church. So the two churches that he built were derelict. One was bombed and one just went to waste. But now it's in use again, which is great news for us. The pair of us that should read lost that thread. And poets have said that he certainly locked out of the derby. Oh, you're late, absolutely. Absolutely. And Stephen says, remember going to the Blackie years ago? It was right by me nan's and by Chinatown, yeah. I was asked to go and give a talk there once, and I didn't know what it was about. And I said no, because it was a Saturday. And they said, oh, come on, please, I'll give a talk. So anyway, Frank decided to go. I said, okay, being what I'm like, I just said, okay, I'll go along, give a talk. Of course, mate. What it was about Mother Earth. And these people, I didn't know who they were, to be honest. And I'm looking at them. I walks in, and this fella introduces me. He said, and I just walked in. I never had a chance to even sit down or get a cup of tea. Anyway, he said, there's Dr. Carlyle, and he's going to give a talk. So I just thought it was about history and things like that. These people were against buildings and everything, ruining Mother Earth, digging big holes to build buildings on. I couldn't believe it. I said, I'm not staying here. Because I was getting booed. Because I mentioned about St. George's Hall and the Blackie itself. I said, listen, how would you be sitting in here? You're all sitting in here nice and comfy. I said, and you're against this building being built. I said, it's a bit of hypocrisy here. I was never invited back. I thought I would have gone back like that. That's the way it is. Mad, isn't it? Just mad. And as King Charles had said, the situation's most intolerable. That's when I asked him if he wanted a cup of tea after showing him around St. George's Hall. I said, do you fancy a cup of tea? And he went, the situation's most intolerable. I cannot go. I said, well, all right, I'm going. I'll see you again. Ta-ra. Crazy days. They are, look. See that? Now, the big letter H, that's what you call a Roman grid. Every street that you see around the world is a Roman grid. That's the only way they could do it. And that's how Liverpool was formed, with this letter H. That's an incredible, really incredible map. What you see there, with the castle being more prominent than ever. And just to the left of the castle, just up a little, that's the what we call the town hall today. Steve Mulholland says, I recently noticed a new Japanese restaurant opposite St. Luke's in Chinatown. Go away. A Japanese restaurant in Chinatown. Blimey. Did you know that we had a Chinese community here? I'll tell you exactly where it was. It was in Guild Street. And if you don't know where Guild Street is, it's where the Bull Ring is today. Guild Street. And that Japanese community was there because they came over when Daniel Brocklebank, the American, came over and opened up a whaling dock to send ships out to catch whales. And whales was actually brought in the Mersey by these ships. Obviously, they were dead and chopped up, whatever they did with them. And the Japanese came up to the Northern Hemisphere to see if the whales, were the same they was catching. Because they were a great whaling country. So they came up here. And they had a look. They even went out on the ships. And they set up the community in Guild Street, what we know today as Guild Street. Just off Pembroke Place, if you're not familiar with it. Frank, we have our history. Will we have a world first in the future? What are you? I'll do the world first. I'll do them next week. Can't do them now because we've got a lot to do on here. I'll never get through this. But yeah, I'll do the world first and you'll be surprised. It's like, look, we had the very, just as an example, we had the very first wet dock in the entire world that opened the things in 1715. We had the very first passenger train in the world. We set the precedent for, think about it. Think about a dock and the shipping all over the world. We did it. We started a dock. And everyone started to build docks then. The very first passenger railway system in the entire world. Imagine the trains today. There's Johan, who you know, he comes on here now and again. He's on the Trans-Siberia Express as we speak. And he's on there for, I think it's 3 weeks to get to his destination. That's how big Russia is. So you see, they're just two examples. Two examples. The splitting of the atom wasn't by Oppenheimer. It was here, on the site of the Catholic Cathedral. It was a workhouse, Brownlow Hill workhouse. And Liverpool, when it ceased being a workhouse, Liverpool University bought it. Bought it. And they did lots of experiments and whatever there. And one of the great leaders, physicists, scientists, whatever, was Sir James Chadwick, who actually split the atom there. I did all my exams there, actually, in the crypt, where he split the atom. So that's just a few examples. But it is surprising what we've given, not the nation, but the world. Honestly. And some funny ones as well. Like, you go back to the 19th century and you had the police and they were always walking with hobnail boots. And you could hear them if you were a burglar. You could hear them. They are. It's the busies coming. You could hear them a mile away. So our police force, to catch the burglars, and not to wake anybody up, because even like, ordinary workers in streets, ordinary streets, when the police used to walk down, they used to wake them up because they were hobnail boots. So they put rubber soles on the and rubber heels on the boots. No one has ever done. No police force had ever done that. No police force. So it's mad things like that as well. So what do you think of that? Isn't that brilliant there? I know you can't see me little pointer, but it just shows you when you see the castle on the left and what it's like today. What it's like today. Because when they knocked the castle down and they built St. George's Church, and preservationists were saying, please don't knock the castle down. But anyway, they did. And they built the church. And once they built the church, they thought it was going to last forever. And then in 1896, they decided to pull it down because they wanted to give Queen Victoria something back, because she was the longest serving monarch, Victoria. So they decided to pull the church down and build a monument, Victoria's monuments that you can all see today. Still there. And when we're talking about St. James's Mount, this is where now the cathedral is, the Anglican, and that's looking down towards the Mersey. And that church that you can see on the right is St. Peter's Church, that was built in 1701. 1701 that was built. And straight further down, right in the more or less the centre, is the castle. It's incredible, It really is. I love our Prince. I have to take that off a minute. Excuse me, boys and girls. Oh, Myra, I'm sorry I didn't see you. Hiya, Myra. Hi, Frank and friends. Oh, Myra. Didn't see you, sweetheart. Myra's from, she's South African girl. Still in South Africa, by the way. Still in South Africa. I'm going to have a slurp of me tea. So when you look at that, it's incredible. Just take your name off a minute. And where you've got, as it says there, St. Nicholas Church to the left, the tower in the centre, and Exchange buildings, right? And the Exchange building, believe it or not, is our town hall. I'm going to get through this. I'm made up. I've had these for ages. No one has. Everyone, every Monday started talking about bloody football. And look at that. Look at the view from over the water, say New Brighton or whatever it is, Seacombe. What the view's like then, and you're talking 1811. And this is one of my favourites. And it's really sad, actually, because you've got Canning Dock. This is in 1840. That particular building in the background was erected in 1828. 1828, think about that. 12 years before. Look at the stone. Beautiful stone. And it was built, and you've heard me mentioning his name a few times now. And it was built by who have I been mentioning? Well, anyway, it's John Foster Jr. He built that. Because that was the 5th custom house. And the 5th custom house was pulled down in 1948. Preservationists were saying, don't pull it down. But we pulled it down, nevertheless. And that was wrong. Simply because it was the Americans, they loved that. They loved that building. They said it was like a palace. It was big, much bigger than St. George's Hall. It had 32 columns. And they said, we'll buy it off you if you're going to pull it down. They went, yeah, all right. Corruption, you see. But it was taking too long for the Americans, so they just pulled out. They said, we don't want it now. So they just kept going, demolishing it. And that's Shavas Park today. Just imagine that right facing the Albert Dock today. All cleaned like that. And the Albert Dock. Incredible. But no, we decided we've pulled down so many buildings, destroyed so many structures. It's hard to believe. It really is hard to believe. That's one of my favourite pictures, by the way, of the. And this is in 1840. Look at that. Look at it. Look at the size of Liverpool now, and the dock system. And the dock system wasn't complete, but look at it. And there's the Albert Dock. 1920, that's a proper picture. 1920. It's massive, it's beautiful. And it was the very first enclosed dock in the entire world. And when you look at that, this is where corruption and criminality collide. It's so sad. It's so sad when you look at that. That particular picture was taken from the Liver building. Just look at it. Because where that big warehouse is there, right next to the warehouse, is the entrance, the dockside entrance of the Mersey Tunnel. You just didn't have one entrance, you had two. You just... It's mad. I go mad at it, to be honest. I go mad at it. Good question. That must be about the firsts. Yeah. And Phil says, Frank, the world first will be great. But what do you think the future of Liverpool? Phil, it's shocking, mate. It really is. Look, when a government, hang on a minute, I'll take that off a minute. When a government in the 80s are discussing Liverpool, there was three things that they were discussing. And one of them was a city, the other was a council, and the other was a trade union. And she wanted to destroy councils, cities, and unions. Tories have always hated unions. They disliked. I was talking to a Tory once down in London. In fact, it was Billericay in Essex. And I was just sitting there talking to him. And the snobbery out of this man was incredible. He was horrible. He said to me, "You're a northern chap." I said, "Yeah." He said, "You can tell by your accent." He said, "Your accent is crude. It's like a taste of Irish and Welsh with a northern flavour thrown in." That's him telling me. So I said, "Can you understand what I'm saying?" He said, "Yeah, oh yeah, I can understand what you said." I said, "What's your problem?" He said, "I've got no problem. It's just that it's a crude accent. Can't I say that?" I said, "Yeah, you can say whatever you like." He said, "Have I offended you?" I said, "No." He said, "Really? You're not offended?" I said, "No, why should I be?" And he couldn't make it out why I wasn't offended. And when I told him why I wasn't offended, he went, and I said to him, "I'm very proud of my accent. And every other Liverpool person is, except the odd few who have elocution lessons for some reason to lose their accent." I said, "But I'm very proud of my accent." I said, "It's just like Scottish people. They're very proud of their accent. It's like the Welsh, they're very proud of theirs. It's like the Irish, they're very proud of theirs." I said, "If you go to the Cornwall," I said, "they all talk like Long John Silver. They're very proud of their accents." I said, "Cockneys are very proud of theirs." I said, "So you're saying, you emphasised the point that I should be upset what you said about my accent and being crude?" No, very proud of it. It's an identity. My accent is an identity. Just like the Welsh accent, just like the Scottish accent, and like everywhere else, they have accents. It's their identity, where they come from. I said, "Where was you born, by the way?" And he said, "I was born in Surrey." I said, "Oh, right, yeah, so you were born in Surrey." I said, "Well, I know people from Surrey, and they more or less have a London accent." He said, "Yeah, but you get away from that." Me, he said, "I got away from that because I was brought up properly." brought up properly? I said, yes. I said, so was I. So was I. I was brought up in a very tough neighbourhood. Very tough. My friends, whom I love very dearly, from kids playing football, and then into our teens and into our 20s, then we all dispersed because they were getting married and everything else. I said they were very tough. Every weekend we all went out together. Very tough. No fights. Not one of them ever went to jail because we were good people. And that was the conversation I was having with this Pratt. And I said to him, I said, you know, you should be very proud of your accent. I said, but it's the way it is. And getting back to Thatcher, she wanted to manage decline of City. Liverpool was chosen because Liverpool they just didn't like the Tories in general elections. One of the biggest snobs, I might upset some people here, one of the biggest snobs in this country was the Queen Mother, who said about the Grand National, she tried to get it moved down to Epsom or Sandown because the people don't deserve it. It's they wear funny caps, funny hats, she said, and they speak with a peculiar accent. So let's move it. Does anybody know that? If you don't, or you didn't know it, you do know now. That's snobbery on the highest level. I wanted to say that to Prince Charles when he came in our 800th birthday. That's a young man. Wanted to say about his grandmother saying that, but it didn't. It wouldn't have been protocol, to be honest. But, you know, there are questions I would have loved to have asked. But when you look at the Tories, I did mention it to that fella, the posh fella. I said, your Prime Minister wanted to manage decline Liverpool to give it nothing, just to see it disintegrate. And I said, also, I said, an MP, Theresa Gorman, Tory MP, in 1991 or 92, wanted to build a wall around Liverpool to show people, future generations, how we lived. And yet, that woman, I don't think had ever been to Liverpool. Some of the finest architecture ever. We have the finest Georgian buildings in the country. More so than Bristol. They say, oh, Bristol's a great Georgian town. No, Liverpool is. So you say, managed decline by a Prime Minister and a government. Think about it for 1 minute. I'm not sure. All right, it's my city. It's where I was born and bred. Still here, still living here. It could have been anywhere. It could have been Norwich. It could have been Bradford. Could have been anywhere in the whole of the UK. And it would have been still disgraceful. But no one said anything. But it never happens anyway because the resilience of the Liverpool people. We've always shown resilience. And that's the beauty of our particular city. I love the city. I love the citizens. We've got good and bad. Don't get me wrong. They're not all good Scousers. Some of them are bad. Like every other city around the world. You have good and bad. But the good is good. It's been voted the warmest city you can visit. The most friendliest city you can visit. And that's what Liverpool is all about. We have a great history. I've shown Americans around. And I'm talking about, prominent Americans, that is, big businessmen. When I was asked to show them around, tell them about the Liverpool connection in America. So it's things like that. I've given talks to, I was asked to give a talk, and my fellow speaker, believe it or not, there was only two of us, was Lord Owen, Dr. David Owen, as he was known then, to 240 Royal College of Art surgeons. And there was this art surgeon in full uniform, only a young fella. I'd say he was in his 40s. Full. And this was during the Iraqi war. He was still in Iraq. It was all over then, but they were still in Iraq. Not just the Americans, but the British. And he was there at this talk. And he came over to me. And he said, "Can I shake your hand?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can." He shook my hand. And he pulled me over and he said, "You have just broken down the barriers of snobbery." Because he was being taught, who's this fella? Because a couple came to me, a very elderly couple, very tall, very, really straight-backed, him and his wife. They were surgeons. And they came up to me and said, they said, I brought a fellow, one of my students, elderly students, who just lost his daughter. I said, "How would you like to go to a dinner?" I said, "I'm giving a talk." He said, "Yeah, okay. Do you mind?" I said, No. And he was from down south and he had a lovely accent. He's passed on now a couple of years ago, little David. And I brought him along. And this couple came over. Now, where this was, the talk was in the medical centre right next to the Everyman. In the amphitheatre. I've actually filmed in there, actually. Anyway, this couple came over to me. There was a load of people through these doors, and they're all having a glass of wine or whatever it was. And there's only me and David standing there in the reception area. And they came over this and they said, "Hello." And they spoke to David first because he was standing there, little white hair, never had white hair then. And he said, "And who are you?" So David told him who he was. And he said, "And who are you?" I said, I'm the historian. I'm giving a talk here later. They about turned and walked away as soon as I opened my mouth. And I'm not being funny, but at the end of my speech, So, because I do a humorous one, David Owen came over to me and hugged me. And, you know, got a standing ovation. That couple was fighting to get over to shake me hand. That's your accent. Always be proud of your accent. Even in those times, the council don't have a clue. Didn't have a clue. Honest. Honest to God, knocking down a castle. How stupid. How stupid can you exactly? But there was preservationists. There were preservationists, honestly, trying to save it. Sports. The lovely Myra. Hi, Steve Holland. Someone should have went to prison for knocking the custom house down. Poets, it was all corruption. It was, I tell you, they were all the councillors. Think about the war. Because an incendiary went in the dome. And it gutted 2/3 of it. The other was all right. Anyway, preservationists were saying that. But as I said, these custom council people didn't give a toss. They seen the custom house as a profit. And it didn't turn out like that. It didn't turn out. And as I said, this was the biggest one. The overhead railway at the same time. Now, the overhead railway was the very first electrified railway in the entire world. I wanted to save that for next week, but I'm just trying to tell you what corruption does. And they pulled it down because of corruption. Sir Douglas Fox's creation. First electrified train ever. Flying through the sky. Think about it. Mark Simons, hey Mark. Frank, was that a Labour council that pulled all these treasures down? No, Mark. Tories. Because what the Tories says, with the war coming, have a guess what they went into? The demolition business. There's bound to be bombed sites, they said. Especially after the May Blitz of 41. May of 41. And they said there's going to be more destruction. So I'll talk about it next week, actually. But it was sheer corruption by these demolition people for profit, by pulling all these things down. Even today, Mark. And Barry, the overhead railway, great picture, Frank. Yes, it is. Beautiful. Beautiful. Frank, those paintings of old Liverpool should be in the gallery. Mark, little Myra's going. Later, Frank and friends, see you on Friday. Truth and Conspiracies with Frank Carlyle. Aren't that lovely? Thank you. Thank you, Myra. You're such a sweetheart. Lovely lady, you know. Really is. Hey, Myra. Steve Holland. And Phil. Frank, great response to that prat about the dialect. The dialect, I'm sorry, I thought it was a derelict and dialect, yeah. The accent, yeah. The docks is being developed. The Liverpool waters, huge investments. We must have a city more successful people want to move to. Phil, what it is, mate, as well, is that with this development going on, you know, you've got the Everton thing there now, stadium. You've got from, I think it's brilliant myself. I really do, because say like from John Lennon Airport, you go along the dock, you know, following it right through to the pier head, right? It's beautiful. Beautiful houses on the waterfront. And then it's carrying on now, right up to where the Everton ground is. And it's beautiful. And you've got three of the most iconic buildings in the world, never mind the big skyscrapers. And that's the Port of Liverpool building, the Cunard building, and the Liver building. Very iconic, Edwardian buildings. And I don't like them being called the Three Graces. I'll tell you for why. They could easily lose their identity. And I'm talking, say, like my granddaughter, for example, 14 years of age. And if she's getting that drummed into her ear now, and she's in her 20s, and someone will say to her, I heard your granddad once talking about the Liver building or the Cunard building, because I filmed in there, and the Port of Liverpool building. She'll go, oh, do you know where they are? No. Under the Three Graces, because they will lose their identity. I'm telling you now. But you're right there, Phil. Loads of investment. Love to hear you talking about your first encounters, Frank. Totally engrossed with your recollections with the teens. Freedom Journey. Because even Frank and legends in the chat. Freedom Journey. Are you Freedom? Are you mate? And Owen Lee. Frank went to see a play at the Playhouse last month called On the Piste, about the Kirby ski slope. Corrupt council, very funny as well. Yeah, that's it. It was the ski slope was up to a main road, the motorway. The ski slope. So if you went on that, you'd end up skiing onto the motorway. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, Barry. Got to go, Frank. See you on the next one. Okay, Barry. There's Johan. Joins when you were talking about the posh, pretentious prat from Surrey. You were too kind to him. I would have said the Queen's corgi's knob out of gob. and say that again. No, because these people, that's what they expect, Johan. That's what they expect. They want you to, he was trying to entice me into something that I wasn't going to give him. I wasn't going to. I'll tell you what, after the talking and that, there was a fella, he was a waiter, he was waiting on people. And even us. And he came over, when the fella went like, he said, "You were brilliant there." Well, he never said brilliant. He said, You're the gentleman, not him. That's what he said to me. He said, because you told him. In no uncertain terms, very gently and very articulate about your accent. Congratulations. That's what he said. And Johan, Russia has their equivalent of Elon's, Starlink called Rasvet, using that now to access the live stream. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, I know they sent it up, didn't they, a month or two ago? The satellites. And lovely Karen. Out of the garden, cause there's no rain. You are in the middle of me and Steve. Poor Steve has it. Oh, go away. But no. Great show. I will rewatch again tomorrow too. Us Scousers have etiquette. No matter what people say. Of course we do. Of course we do. I hope Steve gets better. Oh, Steve gets better. Got a pop back. I just want that fixed. I'm going to finish, boys and girls. I've got football tomorrow. Football. And everyone's moaning. And Mark says the Beatles put Britain on the map when it was done and forgotten as a force after the war. Idiots forgot or forget that reality with vacuous comments on accent envy. Yeah, I remember when the Beatles first came out and people were trying to speak with a Scouse accent. They were trying to take it off. And they couldn't get over the Scouse accent. Then all of a sudden, that happened. But yes, they did. The Beatles, an incredible band. Great comment, that, Mark. Thank you. All the comments tonight, smashing. I might do myself a sandwich now. Yes, sandwich. And I'll see some of you tomorrow. With all the arguing and swearing and because it's football. I'll be saying Barcola yet. That's what I'll be. Barcola. Diamandi. Remember him? That's all we got every day. Barcola. Diamandi. Imminent. I haven't a clue these people. Phil, thanks Frank and Shaq. Good show tonight. Good history, anecdotes. Don't forget the firsts next week. I'll surprise you with a couple as well, you know. Really will. And Stephen Cochran. Great show as always, Frank. So good night. God bless to you and the chat. So peace out, love and unity. Everyone see you for the next one. You'll never walk alone. Oh. Love the Prince, Frank. And like, Mark, I've got loads and I can never get through them. I just carried on there. I shouldn't have mentioned that fella down in Surrey. I could have showed a lot more. But I'll leave them for next week. With me first. I'll do me first next week. Lovely Karen. Night night, Frank. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Do you know what? You wouldn't believe it. I've got 3 holes in the sole of my foot. And I was going, oh, what that is? What that is? And I thought it was bitten, but it wasn't. It was my toenail. Because when I looked at my leg, it's like it's on my bad leg as well. And my right leg catches it when I'm in bed. So I've been told to wear a sock. But so we have to wear a sock going to bed. So we'll sleep. And I met a lad from Blackpool in Yekaterinburg before boarding the train. He's been backpacking across Mongolia and on his way to Moscow. Go away. From Blackpool. Ah, brilliant. Ah, thank you, Karen and Steve. Thank you. And Johan, I'll replay the stream from the beginning. 6 more days to go. I'll read it. Told you, didn't I? Who could go on? I've always known about the Express, the Siberian Express, and it takes days, even weeks, to get from A to B, wherever you're going. And there's documentaries about it, and he's on it now. Johan, incredible. Phil says, sounds like the MI6 operative. MI6 is everywhere. And now Johan is MI6. No, he isn't. Just in case someone's listening in and takes it as fact. Anyway, I'm going to finish on that. And I'll see some of you tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me, keeping me company tonight. And if there's anyone out there that's still looking, just like and subscribe to get me algorithm up there, because I was looking at Alex Christopher, and he said about YouTube taking away subscriptions, and I think they've taken away a lots of mine. So just have a look and see if you're still subscribed. Thank you so much, people. See you tomorrow, hopefully. Thank you. And as the Italians say, buonanotte. Ciao. Ci vediamo domani. A domani.